All right, welcome everybody to Free Spirit Radio. I'm super excited. I'm actually, to be quite honest with you, super excited when this just works. Technology is amazing and sometimes takes a moment to figure out, or like 5 times. So welcome today to Free Spirit Radio, where I am really excited to interview Joy Kingsborough. If you are new to Joy, I actually wrote a little something for her. I'm going to tell you all about her. She is the mystic badass. And what I love about that is that it perfectly describes her, and not in the way that you would need to be afraid of her or that she is mean in some way because she's a badass, but it's really because she takes the woo and the spiritual aspect of life that sometimes can feel overwhelming or confusing. She makes it really practical and doable, kind of breaks it down in a way that people who maybe wouldn't want to do tarot cards or don't really understand some of the spiritual life, she is the person to go to. She's all about really just living a life where you can find your peace and ease, because she believes that's how we're supposed to live. So I'm excited to welcome her. Welcome, Joy. Come on in.
Hello.
Hi. Yay. I'm really, really happy you're here. So I first just always love to kind of say how we connected. I know that we met at Shine Live, but we didn't really meet, right?
Right.
And so we actually really connect over Facebook and live video.
Absolutely. That's where I came to know you. It was fantastic, like seeing you scroll through the feed and seeing your amazing videos and your bright smile. And I was like, oh, how did we not connect at Shine?
Right, but having been at Shine together, I think it leaves that opening a little more than if we were just random, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's super awesome. Again, the testament to live video. I know we were talking before we started about live video, so I do want to dive in, because even though we are talking today about the pressure cooker and how to keep aligned with your purpose when you feel overwhelmed inside of being passionate and ambitious all at once. But at the same time, I always love to talk about live video, and it was super juicy stuff, so we can dive into that. But we also were talking about, you were with your group yesterday in Kelowna. Everybody, she lives in BC, and you guys, you saw a common theme coming up, right? Yeah. Okay, so I'd love to just dive into what is that common theme, and like, why do you feel like it's happening right now? What can we do about it?
Right. It's so big, right? Yeah. So yesterday I was meeting with a group. It's a mastermind. We get together a couple times a month, and we were talking about just the challenges of business, right? We're, everybody, we get excited. We launch these businesses. We're out there telling everybody about it, and we're fumbling our way through understanding. And we all reach a point where it takes that everyday consistency to keep going. And that's the moment when we all feel like, how in the world do I do all of this? Mm-hmm. It's all new. We're stretching ourselves. We feel like, how do I, some of us are parents, and we have pets, and we have lives, and we're trying to have summers, and these businesses are consuming. And that can feel discouraging sometimes. You think, how in the world can I do this? And so that was definitely, I think that comes up, it came up yesterday, but it comes up all the time when I'm working with clients.
This straight up overwhelm. For example, this morning when Ava, who's 3, was obsessively wanting to play Scooby-Doo, who her dad introduced to her. And I'm like, I don't even care about Scooby-Doo at all. I can't even act like I do. And I'm trying to write an email. We all want this freedom lifestyle.
Yeah.
Right. And it's the dream. And people advertise it. It's like the results that are in advertising. Stay home with your kids, work from home. Like, the fuck? Like, that's super easy.
Right? Then you're looking for a place to hide from your children. You're like, no, where'd it go?
Yeah. And I constantly think about it. I'm like, well, if I was gone right now, because it's 10:30 a.m., if I worked from 9 to 5, I wouldn't even get to be here. So is it better that I'm here and distracted?
Right.
I guess so. I don't know. But yeah, I think we all struggle with this.
Like, it's just new normal, right? It's just a new normal.
Yeah. To be distracted, you mean?
Just you're navigating all these new things and finding what that is, what new normal looks like for you. It's not 9 to 5, right?
Yeah. It never was 9 to 5 for me, but I would leave the house for my work. So it is different. And I think when we have that dream, And so do you relate to that, the whole freedom lifestyle? Do your people, is that what they want too?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I imagine maybe people don't. I'm not sure, but everybody I know wants that, and that's what I wanted. That's what brought me to that life. Is I couldn't imagine restriction. I wanted to go. I'm such a wanderer. I really want to travel, and I don't want to be held back. And I know so many people feel the same thing. Having to ask for permission to do something or not being able to go. I don't know. I think that's what we were meant for. We were meant to have that flexibility.
Mm-hmm. We are, and simultaneously, there's so much input. And it does take a lot of work to keep everything afloat, no matter, and I know some people are against the word work, but I feel life takes hard work in your relationships, for yourself, for your body, and your spiritual practice, to keep your house clean. I mean, there are so many things we need to do. So when you're talking to your ladies in your mastermind about that, I know you relate and you understand, but that's not what they're looking for. They're not looking to just be understood, right?
Right.
So what are they looking for?
How the heck do I do it? They're looking for a solution. They're looking for a quick fix, actually. I think most of us are looking for, what's the thing I don't get? What's the missing piece? They're looking for tools.
Yeah. And is that what you help them with?
Absolutely. Okay. Like I always tell people, like there's this toolbox. There's this, you create a habit out of feeling peace. So you don't just reach someplace, you don't just work hard, and run this hamster wheel of your business, and then someday you arrive at this place of freedom and peace. You actually have to create that along the way. And the only way to do that is through habit. So that's why I use the tools that I use. That's why I reach for tarot and for meditation and for yoga and for all of these other elements that really help to keep me grounded in that peaceful feeling as I'm running around.
But so then what do you say to somebody who says, yeah, but that's just all stuff I have to do.
Right.
That's more to add to my to-do list.
Yeah. And really, I mean, that's valid, because until you know what it's like to slow down and to use the tools that we would call spiritual or self-help, right? Until you use those tools and see what they can actually do for your life, it feels overwhelming. But the truth of it is, you have more time when you take time to do that. My favorite quote is, I think, by the Buddha, who said, if you don't have time to meditate, that's when you need it the most. That's when you need a full hour. And that's the truth, because once you have time and you take time, you need less. And you become inspired in all of your action, and you're recharged. And I can get so much more done in a 2-hour pocket than I ever did in 8 hours without my practice. Right?
Wow. Yeah. So in that, I hear you saying, well, maybe there's a part of it that's just your will and discipline for the initial phases. So is that just about making a commitment or a decision?
Yeah. And it's about creating, like, I love when we were chatting before the show, you were talking about muscle memory.
Yeah.
And that really resonated with me in this, because when you have a practice of self-care, and that's really what all of this is. You can call it spiritual or woo or whatever you want, but it's really self-care. When you have that practice, when you are in the moment where you've got every phone ringing, you've got emails, you have demands, you've got Scooby-Doo in the background, right? You have all these things happening. You remember that you can take a deep inhale and exhale breath. You remember that you can close your eyes. You remember that you can go outside for a moment, that you can take a walk, that you can pull a tarot card. You have the memory of what works to feel better quickly.
I love it. So the muscle memory. Yeah. So for everybody who wasn't behind the scenes show, we were talking about muscle memory because I have started working out really hard again. And like I was saying, I took about a year off of really pushing myself after my dad passed away. And it is such an amazing thing to watch what muscle memory, like what it really means to you and how it applies to everything. And so it's not just muscle. It's not just muscle, right? It's not just working out. It's live video. It's speaking. It's sharing your message. It's clear thinking, all of these things. And it's changing your mindset. And so for everybody who's like learning about the law of attraction or been using it for only a couple of years, I think it's a really important thing to note that when you're changing the way you think, it's not about just willfully, like, you're controlling everything. It's about creating new neurological pathways and muscle memory.
Yes.
So it's so big.
Yes. And so practical, actually, it's something you actually become. You become a manifestor. You become someone who is masterful at attraction, and these laws of the universe. You live it, right? Just like becoming masterful at walking or running or, whatever it is, the thing you're doing. That's how we become at life.
Mm-hmm. So what do you do? I mean, I feel like it's so important. I love this conversation. And I wonder if it's making someone think, okay, yes, and I'm doing all these things, but I'm not really seeing the results. And maybe the results are in the bank account. I think a lot of times the main results we measure are in the bank account and on the scale.
Yeah.
And if those two things aren't equaling whatever success looks like to you, then it doesn't equal success.
Right.
So that's a bit like the space in between, right?
Yeah.
And so like, how do you help your clients, or how do you speak to that?
So really, it's a misunderstanding we have. We think that the results, the things that are happening in the physical world, are what we're here to change, right? That's what we're here to shift. And so we look at those results. And so I help clients understand that actually the things that are showing up in the physical world are the last pieces of your manifestation. That's actually the end of the road. You're seeing what's already been created. That's not where you want to start. Right? You don't want to start at the end of the race. You want to start at the beginning. And the beginning is thought, emotion, action, 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 lots of repeated action. And then it's in the physical. So if you've missed one of those 3 steps before the physical, then you're measuring something that hasn't had time to unfold.
Oh, God, I love that. And it's like the action, action, action. But so do you say, well, maybe it's about finding the gratitude in the action instead of on the scale or in the bank account? Like that
Absolutely.
There's all this opportunity.
Yes. And so those where you can start to see those signs, right? You look for the synchronicity, look for the little pieces. Like, how are you feeling? If you've been working out for 3 months and you're feeling really good, well, feeling comes before results.
Yes.
So then notice that, acknowledge it, celebrate it. And, a lot of people don't know, I was 100 pounds overweight. This was a big part of starting my journey into coaching. And so I remember those days standing on the scale and looking at the results, and it was like, oh, only a pound. And it was like, wait a minute, get your act together. That was a pound, right? That was a pound. And so taking those small pieces and seeing them as like, when it starts to rain and it's just a little bit, it's just signs of the incoming change.
Signs.
Yeah.
I love that. The signs.
Yeah.
Because the scale and even the bank account. And I think the bank account is probably what or applies to most people.
Yeah.
Especially in the online space.
Yeah.
So if we could speak to that, right?
Absolutely.
You hear about the pace, like the pace that's possible
right.
for some people, right? It goes so fast, and that feels like you're failing if it's not going that fast.
Right.
You didn't make $100,000 first month in business, right?
Right.
So like, what the heck? Do you help people who have online businesses, or is that a specific area that you help people with?
Yeah, most of my clients are entrepreneurs, and they're in either the early stages of their business or they're in a change. So they're moving through that like expansion moment where they're going from, okay, I'm making enough to I'm ready to explode. I'm ready to get out there and be public and do those things and get through the hard part.
Yeah.
Right. Which it's another hard part. And I hate to use the word hard, but it's unpleasant and unwelcome and unknown. So it is all those things. So
it is uncomfortable at the very least.
Yes.
So I feel like the financial piece is so important to talk about. And I've talked about it more and more. I think before I was actually really making money in my business, a year ago or so, I really started making the money that I desire and took my business online to make in the last 8 months or something.
Yeah, that's really normal.
Yeah, exactly. And I was online for a long time, a year and a half before that or something. And so I feel like, I have clients come to me and they want help with their messaging, help becoming visible. Well, there's like a massive truck going by. Or like a
motorcycle. Sorry. The joys like of my entrepreneurial balance.
Yeah, you're like in this serene, beautiful place, and then all of a sudden it's Guess it's balance. That's balance, right?
Yep.
Paradox. Yeah. So people want, they're like, I'm ready to do this. And I always explain to them. In fact, I had a call with someone yesterday and I was like, yeah, we worked together for 6 months and I really want to help you get a return on your investment and make money. You probably won't start making money till about then. Yeah. And that would be super great. Like, this is a whole business you're building.
That would be amazing in 6 months.
Yes.
Honestly, if entrepreneurs could hear that, like it is not overnight. You just see the overnight, just like when we're manifesting any result, you see everything that's happening at the end, but that's the end of that journey, right? Yes. It's in the beginning of something else, but that manifestation. So in the bank account, we need to check in with where we started. Yeah. Are you on business number 32 and you're in the hole and you're in debt? Well, the money that comes in isn't going to feel as exciting at first because you're paying off debt. But then something happens. So it depends on where you're starting. And if you're starting at zero, or if you're starting with some money in the bank, that amplifies faster. That's just the way it works. Manifestation is the money in the bank is an amplification.
Yes.
Right. So we need the time based on where we're starting. I think for entrepreneurs to check in, to use a coach like yourself, or to work with somebody like anybody out there who can help show them, show us. I needed somebody to be real clear with me and say, hey, this is where you are. This is what needs to get done. You got to do the things.
Totally. And what's realistic and not realistic is so helpful. Like, okay, fine. So it's not realistic to make money your first year. Even though Sally Sue made $100,000 her first 3 months.
And like, you might. Yeah.
It's yes. So again, I feel like we're kind of right back to where we were in that space in between. What do you, when you pull from your woo hat and really dive into your spirituality, what do you use during that time, or what do you help people do? Is there one aspect or one habit that you feel like can really help in that phase?
Yeah, honestly, I think the core that is learning to, and it's technical and boring, but it's the regulating your nervous system. So really knowing the difference between I'm manifesting fear, anxiety, and crap versus I'm manifesting bliss and peace and freedom. And we know what we're manifesting based on how our body feels. And so for me, checking in with how I feel on a regular basis is my most important habit, because I can do something about it then.
Yes. Do you have a specific example you're willing to share with us about a time you went from anxiety, those descriptive feelings you just talked about, into that more blissed out state?
Yes. I travel a lot. Travel is where that's crazy. Right?
Yes.
Okay. So I was recently traveling back from Arizona, and I had 2 flights that I was supposed to be on, and I ended up on 4, and all 4 were delayed by an hour, canceled, changed gates, you name it. And I won't name the airline, but nobody cared. Nobody cared that I was going to be home 5 hours late and still had to drive for 2 hours. Nobody cared.
Yeah.
And little me was like, how come nobody cares? Right? Like, why doesn't somebody want to offer me something? Why isn't somebody saying sorry? I'm exhausted. Getting those poor me moments.
Yes.
It seems like no big deal in the grand scheme of things. Yes, I'm grateful. I can fly, have these opportunities to travel. But in those moments, you can be willing in that moment to rip somebody's head off. You can want to do something that's so out of character. And that's the moment where I checked in with myself immediately, closed my eyes, found a place to just stand on my own. And how do I feel? And in that moment, really have a conversation inside. And then I'm able to, with the work that I've done, shift that feeling from the inside and then take action. And then it ended up being an amazing rest of my travels. And so even though there was the delay, I ended up meeting some really neat people, had these extraordinary things happen. I was able to write. I had time to do the things that I wanted to have time to do, just right there in front of me.
So you mentioned the self-talk. So it sounds like it was the awareness of where you are, the checking in, and then you had self-talk, which I think is what's going to establish our next move always, right? It's going to establish even more of how we feel, even in a repetitive way, or it's going to change our course.
Yeah.
So what, do you have a specific way? Like, do you remember what you said to yourself?
I literally asked the question, is this how I want to feel? Do I want to manifest more? And is life happening for me or to me? And those are the questions that I say over and over again. And it feels simplistic, but it's not when you're in that moment. You actually need simple things. You're a child in that moment.
Yes.
Right? You need simple things.
You do. And that's what, if you were with somebody, would be powerful if they said to you, right? Well,
yeah.
How do you, or you, maybe it depends on who it is, but ideally, I think we build that relationship with ourselves where we can be our own coach and our own friend, right?
And I think what's crucial is acknowledging it. So, just like you would if you were with a small child, is when they're upset, there's a tantrum brewing.
Yeah.
Just sometimes putting your hand on them, hugging them, holding them, saying, hey, something's going on. It's okay. Right.
Yeah.
And just having that moment. And I believe that we need to become our own best friends. We need to have that moment with ourselves and say, you know what, I am really pissed off about nothing right now.
Yeah.
And that's the truth. And
to allow it.
Yeah, to love myself anyway, to say, you know what, this love affair I have with my life and me, it doesn't stop when I'm in a bad mood.
Yeah, that's so amazing, because you're right. It doesn't stop when your kid throws a tantrum.
Right.
I have a 3-year-old, and what she needs when she's building and brewing, as you were saying you were, she needs it to be recognized and she needs to be heard, and then we can change course. And I do think I see so many people getting caught up in those anxious feelings, and instead of asking the question, how do I want to feel? And I use a similar technique that you're talking about, but you know how sometimes that thought, what's wrong with me? Have you ever had that question come up? What's wrong with me? And I feel like that is a really, really great place to start in terms of reconditioning. Because if you were to ask your 3-year-old, what's wrong with you? That's probably not going to get to the root very quickly. That's going to create defensiveness in anybody. And so I always ask myself, I hear myself sometimes say it, and then I think, I wonder what's going on with me right now.
Yeah.
What's wrong with me versus I wonder what's happening or going on with me right now.
I love that, because our brains are like Google.
Yeah.
So how you ask the question determines the results that come up in the feed. And your brain is exactly the same.
So good. I'm so using that.
Yeah.
I love that so much. It's so true. And then it becomes a condition, right?
Yes.
And it becomes easier to remember, what question did I need to ask? And it really is powerful. And I love how, like you said at the beginning of this, you take the woo and you make it simple. Demystifying the woo is so awesome. And I do feel like it's really the wave of the future, because, a lot of the spiritual leaders who are popular in this day and age, I don't really need to name them because we all know who they are. Nothing negative about it, but more just to say, there is a new wave coming up.
Yeah.
Right. And I know we've talked about this. So before we let somebody come on and get some coaching, do you want to just touch on that for a minute? And I know you have a really clear ability to see. And I just love your perspective. So I would love to give our audience just a taste of that idea that, what you're doing right now really matters. That the thoughts, the feelings, the calling that you feel is not on accident. It is on purpose. It's probably even your purpose.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that, what we're really seeing shifting as we know, it doesn't even matter if you're paying attention to Woo or if you've ever tuned into your show before, or either one of us, the world's changing. And what's being inspired is this looking within and recognizing that we have the power and the capacity to tap into the solutions for ourselves all the time. We actually don't need the spiritual leaders to say, hey, this is what you're doing wrong. They can come in and say, I can reflect to you what's occurring. I can help you see what you already know is true. And I think that's the difference, is we know. And when you hear a truth, when somebody says something, when a coach reflects something to you, and you're like, yes, that's true. It's not because it was new information. It's because you're hearing yourself in a loving way.
Yes.
And I believe that's where we're going. I think that's where we're headed, is how can we support that awareness so we don't have to trick each other into doing things. We don't have to manipulate our clients into needing us. We can be that reflection that says, hey, I've got you, until you realize that you've got you.
Yes. Oh
right?
My goodness. That is amazing.
I think that's the big shift.
So just to kind of paraphrase that, are you saying that it's really, instead of this is the way, this is what you're doing wrong, identifying what you're doing wrong, and identifying a new way. It's, you already have the answers within you. Let me ask you the appropriate questions and hold the space for you to identify and give yourself permission to live inside of that.
Yes.
Is that right?
100%.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We on the same team, girl.
Yes, we are.
That's awesome.
Love
I love it. Love that. You know, and I think that's the way to really think about leveraging live video, leveraging the online space, that it's not about just having a successful business. That's not what this is about for me. And I know it's not what it's about for you.
Definitely not.
It's not about being a 6-figure online business coach. It's about being the wave of the future and actually creating change.
Yeah. It is. Yeah. It's that moment where somebody said, I can do this, right? Like, thank you. I feel inspired that we can live in a world that isn't just a percentage of us who have the money and the comfort and the ease and the peace. I want to walk down the street and see smiling faces at me. I don't want to be the one smiling and inspiring that all the time. I want that reflected back everywhere. I believe that world is possible. I'm a total idealist. I see the possibility of that. And I believe we have entered a moment where that is not just an idealistic vision, but it's a very realistic vision. I think it's possible for us now.
I 100% agree with you.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Nice.
Okay. On that note, we're going to let somebody come on. So hi, Bev, Crystal, Diana, and Randall. And if one of you, if you know how to raise your hand if you would like to come on, or comment in the chat. And I will. All right, we got a Crystal. All right, Crystal, I'm going to be promoting you to panelist. And then I believe that you are able to put your video on. Are you able to put your own video on? Unmute you. It's always a little bit of a deal to. All right, we should be able to hear you, Crystal.
Hello.
Asked to start video. Okay, I asked you to start your video.
Crystal.
Okay.
I recognize that voice.
It's me.
Crystal.
I'm just figuring out. I don't really want to be seen. I don't look that good right now.
Oh, you don't want to be seen? Okay. Well, you don't have to start your video then.
Okay. I think I figured it out good.
Okay, you're good. Just say your name.
Hello, everyone. I'm Crystal.
Hi, Crystal. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Okay, so just in full transparency, both Joy and I have worked with Crystal, so we do know you. So we might seem super psychic, but what kind of question or what do you have going on, Crystal?
Oh, sorry, my phone is being weird. Let me just get you guys back in action here. So what I'm struggling with, and I think both of you, like I have worked with both of you and you've watched my changes, Joy over the last 3 years, Jaya over the last year. Mm-hmm. And I think for me, what I really struggle with is how to get back into that high vibe zone and get into energy. I was just reading a book and it just aligns exactly with both of you were saying about we focus on the means to the goal. Like the goal isn't having a bunch of money. The goal isn't lose weight. The goal is to feel good. Right. Mm-hmm. And so like, what are your best tips on how to get feeling high vibe and high energy and focusing back on your real goal and get away from that? I'm still not making the money I want. I'm still haven't lost the weight that I want. I still don't have the boyfriend or whatever you're hoping to manifest.
Mm-hmm.
So good. Such a good question. I would love to respond to that.
Do it.
Because this is something that we all face. It doesn't matter how long we've been doing the work, right? Yeah. And for me, it's having things in place. Like we were talking before, having the muscle memory, but having a list. I have a go-to list that's on my phone that is also on my computer that I can access at any point that is those high vibe things. So number one, I figure out, what, always, never hesitate. What am I feeling right now? I always want to acknowledge the truth of where I'm starting, because then I don't have as much expectation, right? It's not like I'm trying to jump to exuberance when I'm feeling, pretty depressed or upset about something, right? We don't want to make that gap so unachievable. So we want to recognize, like, if I'm feeling depressed, I'd like to just get to content. I'd like to just feel okay. That's a great place to reach for instead of bliss. But then I go to my list of things that I know, and that list, they're my intentional distractions. So thinking about, like, we often distract ourselves with things like television or low vibe activities or food, right? Those types of things. But, thinking about things you love to do, like go for a walk, go for a run, jump on an exercise bike, call somebody who is going to be in that high vibe space, somebody who's not going to commiserate with you. Listen to high vibrational music. My go-to is the 400 hertz or higher music. Anything that's tapping you into that vibrational resonance, creating that list. And as I'm saying that, is it triggering things for you? Like this list of, like, you have go-to items, right?
Well, yeah, Joy, that totally makes sense, especially that going from depressed to I should be super exuberant. And I think that's particular to me because normal high vibe crystal is like ultra high vibe.
Yeah.
And so when I'm feeling low, I think I definitely have that, oh, I'm not myself. How do I get from feeling low to super, super high operation vibe crystal, which isn't reality.
Right? Yes.
Yeah,
it's the steps. It reminds me of when I was a personal trainer and I helped people lose a lot of weight. And one client in particular, I think I helped her lose 120 pounds. And we always talked about this. And so I have a really good example for both online business and weight loss. So if your goal is to lose 100 pounds, the initial goal is 10 pounds. And your goal is never 100 pounds.
Right.
If your goal is 20 pounds, then your goal is 2 pounds. So I'm actually actively losing weight right now because I gained 12 pounds over the last year and now I am losing it. And this week since I started and have been off the charts, fucking amazing doing everything, I've lost 1.5 pounds. Yay. Now I could but my initial goal is 1 pound a week. And so I'm like, I did it, right? And so I think it's really about those goals. And if your goal is to make $10,000 a month in your online business, well, what are the steps that are going to create that? And if having a really great freebie and starting to build your email list is the first step, then the first goal is to build a freebie and to get really excited and proud of yourself that you did the thing that's going to create the outcome.
Yeah. I love that. And let go of that expectation. We have so many massive expectations for ourselves, and then we don't do the work in between, and it's so overwhelming.
Exactly. And we can have the expectation, but it can be realistic and based on our history, right? Like based on what we kind of know and can expect of ourselves. And Crystal, what's so funny is I created a freebie yesterday called the 11 most powerful high vibe hacks that you can do right now.
How perfect.
Perfect.
So I'll get that to you.
There's a list ready made for you.
It's so funny that you set a list too, Joy. So, but Crystal, does that resonate with you in terms of, okay, if it's the money in the bank, that focusing on the steps in between could be helpful?
Oh, absolutely. And I think just kind of like everything that you guys have been saying, like when you can't go from 0 to 3,000 overnight. Like you're not going to go from feeling low to I'm the happiest person ever in 5 minutes. And then of course, thinking that sets yourself up to fail for that.
Yeah.
So now I feel low and I'm not feeling great. So I immediately get to fail.
Yeah.
So that then I'm right back down to low vibe. And then I love the breaking down into if your goal is to earn 10K or lose 100 pounds, then your first goal is to lose 10 pounds, or maybe your first goal is to earn $1,000 a month.
Yeah.
And that seems like steps I can do so I don't have to fail right away.
Oh my God. Yeah. What are you choosing, right? Are you choosing to fail or are you choosing to succeed? Because you can choose the success, but you have to choose the appropriate action steps to create the success.
Yeah. I love that. I love the connection that you made, Crystal, because it is that, and it's the same for everything. It doesn't just work for weight loss. It doesn't just work for raising your vibe.
Yeah.
Right? It works for all of it. And the reason that it works is because when your vibe is low, you sabotage your success. And when your vibe is high, you make amazing choices and you see it and you bring it in. So it's beautiful. It works for everything.
Yes. I love that. How does that feel, Crystal?
It feels wonderful. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Yeah. And just to I wanted to just say one more thing about high, because you specifically said high vibe. Yeah. So, and what's so funny, Crystal, is that this is the topic of my talk that I'm doing at Celebration, is align with your vibe to attract your tribe. And within this talk, here's a little, don't tell anyone, but what I'm talking about are the 4 different levels of your vibration. Right. So the goal is not always just high vibe. It might be it might be low vibe, because it goes bad vibe, low vibe, good vibe, high vibe. Mm-hmm. And so like determining where am I, and am I going to jump? If I'm at a low vibration and I know that right now, my goal is not high vibe. Mm-hmm. It's just like okay vibe or good vibe. Or just not going to bad vibe. Right? So it's like determining where you are and what's like, where can you really be?
Yeah. Love it. It's so funny because it's so simple.
It is. It is, but but we don't live in a simple world.
No. And so we don't go to it. We're like, no, that's too simple. I need something really big to break me through this. And no, you just need to have it.
Yes.
Well, and especially like Jaya, like you were saying, like, okay, it's going to take you a long time to make money in an online business, but you know, Carly Jazzmatazz earned $100,000 in 3 months. And so again, it's just that immediate, like, well, I'm a giant loser, so I might as well not do anything at all.
Right? Yep. And that's why an online business will push you to love yourself even more fiercely, or it will push you to quit, because it'll say, oh, look, well, there's another way that I doubt myself. That's awesome. Now I get to look at that and become even more confident in myself. So the next time it doesn't trigger me as much. And if it still does, I still have more work to do.
Yes. Fierce love. Love it.
Yeah. Fierce love. I love, Crystal, that you are on here and that we get to talk, all of us. And this is just amazing.
Yeah, I know. I saw the post. I was like, I am so there.
I love it.
Does that feel like you got what you came for?
Oh, yeah, and more. So thank you both so much.
Okay, you're welcome, love. See you soon.
Bye for now.
Bye.
Okay. All right. So I have just a couple questions that I ask at the end.
Okay.
Actually, I think I asked you most of them, the other one during, so I'll just ask you this one question. So you are Joy Kingsborough. You're doing your work in the world. You know, you touch a lot of people's lives via your Mystic Mornings. And if you guys don't follow Joy, follow her. She gets on every weekday morning at 8 a.m. and pulls a card and taps into the mystic feelings and like the energy of the day, right?
Yep.
Is that right? Yeah. And it's really, really amazing. What a great way to start your day. So it's 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you're doing these things, right? And you're doing them, you're making an impact. So it's not like, oh, my dream is to make an impact. You already are. And what I want to know is, what do you really want that impact to be? So you're gone. You've left the building. You've left the room. You've left the planet. What is that thing that you want to leave people with?
Such a good question. I love it. What I really want is to leave. I mean, it sounds kind of cliche, right? But it's the truth. I really want to leave a world where people feel good and it's a matter of habit. Like it's not something we're reaching for anymore. That was actually a part of changing the way we are socially, the way we connect with one another, the way we do business. All of those things have shifted. We've moved to a higher consciousness where we don't need war and competition and conflict. We can actually live in a world of peace. I want that for my children. And so that's the part where I know that sounds cliche, but it's not. That is my heart. I want that for my children, my grandchildren, and those who follow. That would be enough. It would be more than enough.
Yes. So amazing. You are making your mark and you're doing it.
Yeah.
I'm really honored to get to sit with you here and just to get to.
Oh, me too.
Thank you so much. Talk with you. So we're gonna shut down Free Spirit Radio for today. But if you love this and you want an opportunity to get hot seat coaching, all you need to do is click the link that is attached somewhere to this post you are looking at. And next Friday at Pacific Time, noon, you can hop on with my next guest. All right, guys, so thank you so much. And we'll see you next time on Free Spirit Radio. Bye.